Overview, basically what we're doing is we're just doing a podcast about like if we were the characters and things fall apart, and then we're kind of like discussing how like modern issues would affect things fall apart characters, and then yeah, we're just doing it from the perspective of the characters in the book.
Hi everyone, welcome to Voices of the Village podcast, where we break down things fall apart. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to imagine things fall apart characters in the year 2025. So today I'm your host Achebe. Here with me, I have
Okonkwo,
Nwoye,
Ikemefuna.
and I will also be Reverend Smith.
Yeah. So we're diving into their identity, culture, violence, religion, and the falling apart of the book and how it applies to the modern world.
All right. Part one. Who would Okonkwo be in 2025?
All right, Okonkwo, let's start with you. Throughout the novel, you were introduced as an independent figure. You were well known throughout the 9 villages and beyond, and your fame was rested on solid personal achievements. This is from page 6 of the book. And there's another quote about you wrestling. It says, "And he did pounce on the people quite often. He had a slight stammer, and whenever he was angry, he did not get his words out quick enough. He would use his fists." So that shows your anger. How would you see yourself today?
I think I'd be someone of high status. People nowadays they look up to like athletes, CEOs, influencers. Back then in my day it was like wrestling and yams. So I think I would just go back to the top where I was.
Yeah, but Okonkwo, you were ruled by one passion, to hate everything that your father had loved. That's from page 13. That kind of mentality would not fly today. People are much more reasonable. You would get canceled.
I mean, like being canceled, it's still notoriety, so people will still talk about me, hate or not.
Remember, Okonkwo, I helped Nwoye grow as a person. The book says Okonkwo was inwardly pleased at his son's development, but he threw it, and he knew it was due to Ikemefuna. That was from page 52. Nowadays, I'd still be his advisor, telling him to cut out on his own.
I mean, I guess you help them.
All right.
Some foods feel just like home. Yams have been on our tables for generations. Baked, mashed, roasted, or fried. Sweet, hearty, and full of flavor, they're the perfect side that brings everyone together. From holiday feasts to everyday meals, yams aren't just foods, they're traditions. Yams, naturally delicious and always in season for sharing.
Part two.
I'm ready.
Violence, anger, and gender.
Okonkwo, a lot of your identity in this novel, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I feel like it was tied to anger and violence. In the book, there's an example of this, and here it is. He was not a man to stop being someone halfway through, not even for fear of a goddess. And that was said on page 29, written by me. So, how would you look at this in the year big 2025?
I think today, people are soft. I'd probably get called abusive or something of that nature. Maybe even arrested if someone calls the cops. Back then, like the punishments for like actual crimes, fit the crime. But nowadays, like the punishment is like a lot more severe for like a lot worse things. Everything's so fragile.
But Okonkwo, don't forget about the week of peace. In your anger, he had forgotten that it was the week of peace, of page 32. It was unheard of to beat somebody during that sacred week. Also from page 32. The punishment for breaking the week of peace of the Ani had become very mild in their clan, page 34. You argued with your wife over food. He could stamp out the distinguishing signs of laziness, which he thought he already saw in him, page 35. And worse, without further argument, he gave her a sound beating and left her only daughter weeping. In 2025, that makes your career over and your reputation gone.
And then, also, you ran wildly for the loaded gun, ran out and aimed it at her. He pressed the trigger, and then there was a loud report followed by the wail of his wives and children, Achebe 39. That would trend online instantly. You would never be able to do anything again.
I mean, it might have been trending, but like that's still fame. I would still be trending online more than nothing.
But Okonkwo, popularity isn't the same thing as respect. You need to understand that, especially in 2025.
And gender, you believed that in the book it says, no matter how prosperous a man was, if he was unable to rule his women and children, he was not really a man. From page 53. Has your perspective on this changed, or you still.
I mean, I would say it's still the same. You know, nothing really changes. A man should be the one who keeps the household in order. He should be the one, you know, doing everything.
Except it's different now. Women lead like governments and corporations. They even start revolutions. Males no longer have the same role as they once did. And it's different now.
Yeah,
Part
how
of
do you feel about
things
that, Ben?
why things ended badly for you was your flawed idea of manhood. Today it's much different. You have to adapt to new cultures, and you would fail miserably.
I mean, I don't think I would.
Nah, I believe in you. No, alright. And don't forget about how fear shaped all your actions throughout the book. In the book, page 73, written by me, it says, Okonkwo was not the man to go about weeping for misfortunes. That's a woman's way. And then it also says, he was possessed by the fear of his father's contemptible life and shameful death. And that was page 18.
All right. I
That's
think that
part
wraps
3
up
coming
this segment.
Part 3, we're talking about religion, missionaries, and change.
Yeah. Alright, Reverend Smith, in the novel, I would say that I would venture to guess that you are described as stern and, yeah, a little bit harsh. So, in the book, on page 184, it says, he saw the world as a battlefield in which the children of light were locked in mortal conflict with the son of darkness. How would you view this or see this today?
It's the same mission, but a different platform. I would be preaching on YouTube, TikTok, and all sorts of social media, selling merchandise online and running my mega church from the internet. I would continue to preach. That's what drew me in. Living fire begets cold and potent ash, page 153. That's how I felt about Okonkwo, exhausted and deflated. Faith in Christianity gave me hope. The hymn about brothers who sat in the darkness and in fear seemed to answer the vague, persistent question that haunted his young soul from page 126. In 2025, I would still find a place in the church.
I mean, I think it's that weakness that brings me down in a way. I mean, that's why I killed Ikamafuma, you know. Dazed in fear, I drew my machete and cut him down. He was afraid of being thought as weak. That's page 60. I just think, like, if you're, like, willing to, you know, go that, like, deep into religion instead of our own culture, I feel like you're not as strong as you make yourself out to be.
But Okonkwo, I think that fear brought you down. Today, I'd use my story to fight abuse, raise awareness, and tell people that they could be okay, and they would listen.
And I would support that if it led them closer to Christ.
This is a great talk, guys. So now we're moving on to part 4.
Exile and cancel culture.
Yeah. Alright. So, Okonkwo, I would say, in the novel, that a pretty critical moment in your life and in the whole story of the book was your exile. Here's a quote from the book. The only course open to Okonkwo was to flee from the clan. It was a crime against the Earth Gods to kill a clansman. A man who committed it must flee from the land. A crime was of 2 kinds, male and female. Okonkwo committed the female version because he had done it inadvertently. He could return to the clan after 7 years. That was from pages 115 and 116. So how would you guys say that this translates or connects with things in the world today?
I think, you know, like, it'll connect to, like, cancel culture. You know, you messed up once on the internet and now you're, like, done. You know, the internet roasts you, you know, you can't come back, you can't revive your career or anything, you're just done.
We've seen that in like many different people and
Yeah.
associations and stuff.
Then, once you returned, the book says, Okonkwo's return to his native land was not as memorable as he had wished, on page 171. And also it says, violent deaths were frequent, but nothing like this had ever happened, on page 116. Then another quote, they had no hatred in their hearts against Okonkwo. His greatest friend, Obierka, was amongst them. They were merely cleansing the land, which Okonkwo had polluted with the blood of a clansman. And that's page 116. And don't forget this next quote. He remembered his wife's twin children, whom he had thrown away. What crime had they committed? As the elder said, one finger brought oil, it soiled the others. And that's from page 116. Would this disappointment be worse now than it was then?
I mean, I feel like the disappointment would be, you know, relatively the same. You know, some people forget quickly, But to me, it's like that kind of like treachery and like disloyalty to cancel someone of your own. That makes me feel very like angry. Back in Igbo society, people wouldn't do that. If they had your back. But nowadays, I feel like it's a lot more.
Yeah. A lot quicker to react.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think of it as a second chance. In like 2025, exile is a reflection of a pause to come back stronger and think of yourself as better.
Exile may have been better for you than you thought.
Nah, I don't think that, man.
Well, it changed you as a person, but it may have been for better or for worse.
Yeah, I killed myself, dude.
Alright, part 5. Death and legacy. Okonkwo. Some people may believe your death was tragic, some people may not, but at the end, what happened was, on page 207, it says Okonkwo's body was hanging. So, hanging from a tree, I believe. And, yeah. So, why did you choose to make that choice, and would you make the same choice in 2025?
I mean, if people are gonna cancel me like that quickly, I feel like it might have happened faster. Social pressures everywhere. Now in social media, there's judgment from all angles. There's constant eyes on you. I'd feel just as trapped. Getting judged by that many people.
Yeah, but choices still exist. You could have chose differently even today.
I agree with Noe. Your chi didn't condemn you. Your chi was very much awake, as Cheve wrote on page 49. I think it was your choices that brought you down.
I definitely agree with that exactly. Identity evolves; it's not fixed. And then when you think about his legacy, a quote from page 119: Okonkwo was given a plot of ground on which to build his compound, and 2 or 3 pieces of land, on which to farm during the coming planting season. And then another quote is: when there is sorrow and bitterness, he finds refuge in his motherland. Your mother is there to protect you. She is buried there. And that is why we say that mother is supreme. That's from page 124. Then another quote is, you think you are the greatest sufferer in the world? If you think you're the greatest sufferer in the world, ask my daughter. Akeuni. How many twins has she born and thrown away? From page 124. Then, remember the practical side too. I sold the big ones as soon as you left. Later on, I sold some of the seed particles too. And then yams and gave them out to the sharecroppers. I shall do that every year until you return. But I thought you'd need the money now, so I brought it. And that's from page 130.
I mean, I don't think that really adds to your point. I feel like it would be worse nowadays than it was back then. Back then, it was so really quick anyway. So I feel like I would still, get exiled and be brought to, killing myself.
Yeah.
All right.
Alright.
So let's wrap this up. What do you think your identity would be in 2025?
Having your own identity is freedom, the chance to make your own decisions without fear. My identity would be following the Christian faith. The faith is truly one thing that doesn't change, even as the world does.
I think, identity is relied on your fame, your strength, and your dignity. Be someone that people look up to. The fiercest since the founder of their town, Chebe won. And I think this, be the most famous, be the strongest. That's identity.
All right. I believe I like that. But strength comes in many forms, so I think it's up to you how you would perceive it. All right. Thank you for tuning in to Voice of the Village.
Let him speak.
Yo.
Let me speak.
Hey,
You almost forgot about me. Wow. I think identity personally is what you choose to become. I came from a completely different village, and I completely changed my life when I came into Okonkwo's family.
All right. We good?
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to Voices of the Village. That was Things Fall Apart 2025. So we'll see you next time.
Yay! Part 1.
That was pretty
We did it. Yeah, that was. That's a wrap.
Stories that they would listen to.
And I would support that if it led them closer to Jesus and Christ. We're gonna cut. We are gonna cut that line. We are gonna cut that line because that. Jesus Christ. Jesus, man. Okay.
Okay, we're doing.
It may have been for better or for worse.
Yeah, I killed myself, dude.
Are we keeping that?
Might as well.